Hello, Sabra. Hello, everyone. Welcome. We're so glad that you're here. As we get started, let us know in the chat where you're tuning in from. We'd love to see everywhere where everyone is joining us from today. And we'll get things rolling in a moment as more people join in. Let's see who's rolling in. Where's everyone from? Let's see. I see Nicole from Connecticut, Greeley, Colorado.
Yay, Colorado.
Yay! Yeah, so for those of you that are just getting to know Snaptron a little bit, we are actually located in northern Colorado. And Colorado is your home state as well, correct, Sabra?
Yes, yeah, I was born and raised in Grand Junction, but I went to school not too far from you guys in Golden, Colorado.
Yeah, Golden. That's a really beautiful place. In India. All
Oh,
right.
Windsor, that's really close to you guys.
Yeah, we are in Windsor,
Oh,
Colorado. We're
wow.
like this, yeah. We're like this grouping of Windsor, Greeley, Fort Collins, Loveland. Let's see. Got a lot joining in here. Awesome. Anyone you recognize, Sabra?
Um, well, I guess Nicole.
Nicole.
Um, let's see. Oh, um, nobody that replied other than Nicole. So, hey
Gotcha.
everyone.
Awesome.
Nice to meet you for the first time.
We got some India though. Where are you at these days, Sabra? I know you're usually traveling and we can't keep
Yeah.
up with you.
The good news is I'm in one place here for at least a few weeks. I'm in Indianapolis, which is where I'm based most of the time.
Awesome. Great. I think we'll give a few more seconds and then we'll get started.
Awesome.
Yeah, how I think we all want to know, how is your cat doing? Is she better?
Yeah, she's so much better. She just had a little respiratory infection and some conjunctivitis in her eye. I felt so bad. I'm first time cat mom, and I've
Yeah.
not even been cat mom for a whole year yet. So I was
Oh,
like, oh no, what do I do?
yeah, and
Um,
she's your baby, and you know.
yes, but yeah, she's making a full recovery, so she'll
Oh,
be fine.
good. I'm so glad. It sounds like you're a great cat mom.
I guess it's like any parent, right? You just like you have no idea what you're doing, but you just do your best.
Roll with the punches,
Yeah.
exactly. All right. I think we've had some filter in, so we can get started. Hi, everyone, and welcome to Snaptron's live interview with Sabre Cook. I'm Kendi. I'm the marketing specialist at Snaptron. To give you a little background on Snaptron, we specialize in manufacturing metal tactile domes and related products. So these are critical components in electronic switches. Our metal domes, like the ones kind of located above my head here, deliver precise tactile feedback and are essential in things like automotive controls, racing equipment, and other high performance applications. So today we're beyond excited to host the incredible Sabre Cook. Yay!
Happy to be
um,
here.
yes. So Sabra is a 14-time karting champion, the first female racer in the North America Porsche Carrera Cup, and a talented mechanical engineer. So, in short, her journey is nothing short of extraordinary, blending speed, precision, and innovation both on and off the track. So, Sabra is a sponsored athlete of Snaptron's. We started our partnership during the second half of your season last year, and we've truly enjoyed getting to know you and work so closely together. So we're thrilled to have Sabre join us virtually to share her incredible story, her future plans, and maybe a touch of your New Year goals. And we also want the audience to be a part of the conversation. So drop your comments, your questions in the comments during the interview, and we'll get a chance to answer them live at the end. Okay, Sabra, thank you so much for being here. It's an honor to chat with you. Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got started in racing?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you guys so much for having me. Like you said, we had our partnership start at the middle of last year, and I equally feel like it's been such a pleasure to work with you guys and Naptron. You guys are very collaborative, hence us doing a live interview right now on Instagram. But so for those of you that don't know my story, I was kind of born into a racing family. So my father used to race motocross and supercross professionally, and he and my mom did not want me racing motorcycles, understandably. And I appreciate that now because otherwise I would have had a lot more broken parts probably. So we got into go-karts when I was just before I was 8 years old. I drove my own for the first time and started taking it pretty seriously and just decided, this is what I wanted to do, and I was obsessed with it. And then went on to have like a successful professional karting career. That's where the 14 championships came from. And then I was stuck for a while because I didn't have the funding to go to cars. It's a big jump to go from a pro karting situation into a pro racing situation. So I just stuck it out and I went and got my mechanical engineering degree in the middle of all that. And then in 2017, the same year I also graduated from the Colorado School of Mines, I had my first car race in SCCA. And then I went on to do lots of amazing opportunities. I was very fortunate to be able to do open wheel cars, so racing in F4, F3, W Series, USF 2000, USF Pro 2000, some sports car stuff sprinkled in there when I was doing mostly open wheel. So did like an MX5 race, did TCR race, did race at the Nürburgring and the Nordschleife in M2, and then honestly, anything and everything that I had the opportunity to drive, I did. And then more recently, I've mostly transitioned to the sports car space, and I've been in the Porsche Carrera Cup North America Series for the past 2 seasons, and I became the first female to do so last year in 2023. So, but the good news is there's more girls every year, so it is
Yes.
growing. It's growing.
Yes. Okay. So basically, you were born racing into
Yeah.
your family. That is quite the resume. Like, it's so impressive. I can't even, with everything you just listed out that you've done in just your very, very young life. So once again, thank you for being here with us. And we can jump right into the first question that we have for you. So reflecting back on 2024, what was your most memorable moment in racing or engineering?
I feel like that's hard because there was a lot of good moments. As far as the engineering side goes, I wasn't I haven't been working as an engineer this year, but previously I have been, but this last year I'm blessed to be too busy racing, so I didn't really get involved that much on that side, but hopefully more this year in 2025 I might do some more side things. But I would say being able to finish in the top 10 in the Porsche Carrera Cup North America season pretty consistently, but especially
Awesome.
when we finished in the top 10 at Watkins Glen, because that track can be pretty intimidating the first time that you go to it. It's very fast, the average speed is very high. And the first year we went to that track to race, which was 2023, I was a little more off the front runners there than any other place, and it's hard. It's a hard track to get down. So I was super, super proud when we came back and we qualified inside the top 10, finished in the top 10, and it was one of our really progressive weekends and just showed the momentum and progress that I've made. And then there was also a practice session, I would say, that kind of also showed the progress in Indianapolis. We were P1 for a little while for most of the session, and then finished I think up in the top 5 and top 7. So just feeling really positive with the progress that's been made over the transition into the sports car world, and then I'm looking forward to continuing that this year in 2025.
Yeah, absolutely. Can you remind me again, where is Watkins Glen?
It's in New York.
Okay, so the New York one, gotcha. That's how I know each of your races is by location. I'm still getting to know all the different racetracks, so
Yeah, the
no,
names aren't always, they don't always give away where they're at. Like Indianapolis Motor Speedway is easy, but yeah, Road
yeah, of
America
course.
or Watkins Glen, you're like, I don't know where that is.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, so much to look forward to in 2025, and you had an amazing 2024. And as someone that got to watch you firsthand, I mean, I just think it's amazing when you're out on the track to begin with. So, looking forward to 2025 for you.
Yes.
Um, so, as a mechanical engineer, I know we like talked about how like you didn't get to do much of like from a project standpoint in 2024. However, you are still a mechanical engineer and you have all of those nice skills in your brain. So, as a mechanical engineer, how do you apply your skills to racing?
I, well, I mean, so obviously you don't need to be an engineer to be a great race car driver. Case in point, most people are not. Um, but I would say in the way that I try to translate my engineering background to the racing is the way that I look at data in post sessions. So after each session we're on track, we have a data logger, and so we pull that data and we review it after every session, and using kind of my engineering analytical side of my brain to focus on the main areas of improvement. What's the root cause of maybe an issue that we're dealing with and what could be the solution. I definitely do the engineering, like I take detailed notes. I like to know exactly what's going on and like what changes we made, and recording exactly like what the result of that change was. So like always documenting things, right, as you would in an experiment. Um, I would say the engineering background definitely helps sometimes, specifically with the way that I communicate with my engineers. I think that is the beneficial side of it, but I don't know. I guess because I don't know what it would be like without my background
Right.
because I'm like I haven't lived that life. But I think that having the ability to understand where my engineers are coming from and understand their perspectives a little more, that is a really big benefit from the engineering standpoint. But yeah, but inside the car, right? Like I'm like, all right, let me calculate what is my minimum speed going to be when I get to this corner, because when you're driving, it's like any sport. You need to be reaction, you need to be gut feeling. You have to react like so fast. You don't have time to like overthink things and overanalyze things. So really, you're just driving from your gut and from the feel of the tires, and going off that rather than calculating your next move. Like as a driver, I think this doesn't get talked about enough, is a lot of your decisions and the way you grow as a driver and give feedback to engineers and make decisions as a driver when you have a problem is by taking a log of all the experiences that you've had over the years and kind of recording that, what that feels like in your mind, in your butt. I know that sounds weird, but that's where we feel most. And that's how you make decisions on what you're going to correct in a session. So if you're like, oh, there's something wrong here, you just very quickly kind of dive back into the log or skills that you have and use that to make the change the next lap rather than going through this whole thought out process.
Wow, I mean you've given some great insight there, where like I would say in my mind, like you definitely have an edge on the track with the mechanical engineering brain, and you have an amazing team of engineers that you work with. But ultimately, at the end of the day, right, when it comes down to it, it's all about the intuition and the gut feeling as an athlete. However, you have an edge, I'm sure, amongst other racers. So.
I don't know. I mean, I think as a development driver, like if you were testing new equipment and trying to develop a chassis or some new component, I think that it would be a very beneficial situation to be working that development program with a driver that has engineering background.
Gotcha. Do you come across a lot of drivers that also like have an engineering background or not really?
Not really. I mean, I know of a few of them that I've met over the years. I only actually know of one other girl Oh wait, no. Now I two. I know two girls that are also engineers and have driven race cars. So, but yeah, it's definitely not common. It's not common.
So yeah, you're a diamond in the rough there. Um, well, awesome. All right. To segue, we talked a little bit about your favorite moments in 2024. So, um, what are your actual goals for 2025 in racing and perhaps engineering?
Yeah, it's 2025, right? It's the season of goals right now. Everyone's got their New Year's. I've heard bingo card is like a new thing, by the way,
Ah,
for your New Year's resolutions. So,
like you make your bingo card and put all your goals on it, like kind of thing.
exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, you like write them all out and you try to spell bingo. So to on my imaginary bingo card for 2025, I am excited to be returning back to the Porsche Carrera Cup North America Series again. And my goals around that is really to build, like I said, from the results that we had last season, continue to improve on areas that I know need more work. But definitely, we're aiming to claw our way into the top five, get some podiums. But it's going to take a lot of work to get there, right? Like Porsche Carrera Cup, there's a lot of very talented drivers, and the series is super competitive. So we will see what the year brings and see if all the factors can line up for some success. And then yes, as far as the engineering goes, goals wise. I would say, well, I might do some like small design bits here and there, like independently, not full time or anything. But the engineering side is something I'm obviously very passionate about and I get excited about and I'm very intrigued in. But what I'd really like to do this year, maybe not directly as an engineer on a project, is to really use my platform and use partners like Snaptron and other STEM partners to promote that to other people to see that, hey, there are opportunities in motorsports. There's are opportunities that have to do with high performance situation, high performance products, and you can be a part of that. And like, you should definitely check it out and think of it as an option for you to get involved in. You don't have to be an engineer necessarily, right? Like, there's tons of other jobs around being involved in Snaptron because, like, you're not an engineer, Kendi, but you're there working for Snaptron. So it's there's so many ways that you can get involved if it's something that sparks your interest. So I think it would be very cool to kind of come together with Snaptron and promote people getting more involved in STEM.
Yeah, we definitely look forward to that. I know, we're looking forward to an event with your alma mater as well, with that just being such a huge school for engineering. And like yeah, we look forward to that as well, in the next year and getting to work with you through that. But yeah, no, that's super exciting and awesome to hear about you kind of diving a little more into engineering this year. Not that you don't have your plate full
Yeah.
with the Porsche
Uh,
Carrera Cup.
I tried
Um,
I tried the working full time as an engineer and racing before, and I think it was the middle of 2021 was the last time that I was working full time as an engineer, and then I was like, this isn't gonna work
yeah,
out some more.
yeah.
Like, I was just like killing myself. So yeah, just on the side now. But I can also go engineer right when I'm like 80 years old, but I can only drive a race
Oh,
car right now.
no, you were absolutely correct. Like yeah, you gotta concentrate in racing while you can, and you're killing it now. So.
Thank you.
Yes. So to that point, engineer, race car driver, what advice would you give to aspiring racers or young people interested in STEM careers?
For just for aspiring racers or for, I guess I'll answer those in two
Yeah,
parts.
I
Yeah.
guess you kind of do have to break
Yeah.
them up. I mean, aspiring racers first. Go.
Well, I guess I mean at the end of the day, like everybody has similar challenges, right? But maybe they just manifest in a little bit different ways. But I would say something that has been very helpful for me, and something that I wish that I was kind of given or figured out sooner, is there's this psychologist who works with a lot of NFL teams, and he's like amazing, insanely good. And I found him several years ago, and he had a mantra that said, "So what? Now what?" So it was like kind of just a way to be like, okay, this happened, take it in as a feedback, and then just be like, what are we going to do next instead of dwelling on what's going on. I think the maybe the more modern version of that sometimes now that I think it's a massive fad right now. I don't know if many of you have heard of the let them theory.
Oh,
I think there's similar ideas behind that.
gotcha.
But I would that's something that I would just the idea behind it, I would totally push on anybody that wants to go through anything hard in life, or just everybody, anything hard in life, and being able to deal with challenges, having a mindset that's like, what can I control? And what do I need to do next to push closer to that solution? And I think if you have that sort of mindset, it takes a lot of the other extraneous things away and lets you really focus on what you need to do and what your goals are. As far as specifically STEM careers, I would say networking is really important for racing and for STEM careers. But if you want to go somewhere, you're going to, I know engineers hate talking to people, but you're going to have to go and introduce yourself to those really important, great opportunities. They're not necessarily just going to come knocking at your door. But I think just go out, network, and get experience, hands-on experience in whatever field that you are going to go into, because too often in the USA, we have a little bit different school structure and we're not forced to go get as much hands-on experience
Mm.
before we graduate as like someone does from a European school. And I think we really lack in that. So go get real hands-on experience and use that to take forward into whatever you want to do, because your mechanics, your machine shop guys, your boss, everybody will like you a lot more if you have real world experience
Actual.
around what you are doing. Yeah.
Yeah, that I mean that's great advice and insight. Yeah, I think, kind of what you said about aspiring racers and the let them theory, or just like, you kind of break it down like it's really ultimately very simple, right? The mindset you have to have, but it's like the mental toughness, to like be able to keep everything out, and just focus on what you want to do and what's, important to you. The
It's easier
engineering,
said than done, right?
yes.
Like it's definitely easier said than done.
Yeah, and just great advice for engineers, and talking about that like school's not going to do everything for your career. Like you need to go out and get it for yourself as well. All right. Let's move on to another question. Um, all right. In both racing and engineering, precision and responsiveness are everything. So, why do you think our partnership between you and Snaptron is a great fit, and how does it support your goals as a driver and an innovator?
Well, like as you said, you touch so many different products that touch my life and allow me to do what I do. So I think it's just incredibly authentic, and the key to any successful partnership is authenticity, right? And so Saptron makes so many components that are involved in what I do on a daily life, but also what I do on the racetrack. So there's like lots of great synergy there. And I love leaning into my engineering side and being able to have STEM partners like Snaptron, because your products literally help me reach my goals, because otherwise like we wouldn't be able to have radios or steering wheels. Like there's so many ways that you guys help us get on track that, like I feel like I can't even list all of them. Like um but I'm not, yeah, I'm not actually sure how many components you guys are actually in that we use on a regular basis. Like that would be a fun little treasure hunt to find out.
Right?
But yeah, just having you guys as a STEM partner, because while I mentioned, right, I'm not working full time as an engineer, I still get massively curious. And so like I've never worked as a more electrical engineer and like in the design of something that would need your guys' domes and buttons. So mostly I've done like, fluids and mechanical design, more like hard metals. And so the more I get to learn about what you guys are making and how you're making it for me, like selfishly, I'm like, oh, this is cool. I like learning something new. So that part I've really enjoyed too, is just because I get exposed to new technology and new ideas by being part of the Saptron family.
Yes, we're definitely learning from each other, for sure. And that's, interesting to hear that you're actually learning from us, right? Yeah, no, the amount of applications that metal tactile domes are in are limitless. Like, it's just mind-blowing to know just how important a tactile button is, especially in things like racing. I know we're focusing a lot on racing and automotive, right? But like the industries are just like across the board what
Yeah,
tactile metal buttons are in, which is just mind blowing about something
everywhere.
you use every day that like you just
Everywhere.
don't really give a lot of thought to, but there's so much engineering put into behind it. Um, well, great. I love your answer to that, both learning from each other. So, moving on to my last and final question, and probably my favorite, because I'm so excited to hear just uh, what you're gonna like respond to this one. If you could design a new innovation for racing, what would it be?
There's so many things you could
Yeah.
do. I
Limitless, like use your
limitless.
imagination.
Wow, that I mean, that's a lot now. Um, I would say I would definitely like to some way going forward have a way that I can give back to the safety side of racing, especially like being women. Not everything is designed for us, and the sizes and the shapes of our bodies, and so if there's some way to create more safety devices or refine the ones that are already in place, so that way women especially are less at risk for concussions, because we tend to be a lot more vulnerable to them. And I feel like I've come back from lots of like bodily injuries, but when you get a concussion, it is one of the hardest things to come back from as an athlete, because it just affects like every part of your life, and like you feel like you're losing your mind a little bit. And like I feel like that's one thing, like you can cope if your arm hurts, but if you physically can't function with your brain, it's a really hard thing to go through. So if I could find a way to minimize those, I would really like that. But then on a more like well, I guess that is engineering, but on a more like wishful thinking idea, I would say I think it'd be very cool to be able to create a car. And I think there's parts of this going on now, right? But this might be a far-fetching idea, but what if there was like an ice engine, like so internal combustion engine, sorry, nice my acronyms. But what if there was an internal combustion engine vehicle that had within itself like a energy recovery system from braking and exhaust, and but it was able to take like its own exhaust and take its own CO2 and compress it back down into fuel that feeds back into the car. So then it's literally just constantly driving and it's like a whole recycle of itself. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
So like it's not really,
definitely.
yeah, like it's not even polluting because it's just
No.
taking its own CO2, compressing it back down and putting it back into fuel, and it just keeps running, keeps running. So you never even have to go to the gas station, which I mean, I guess you still want to anyways for potty breaks, but like in theory, it would be such a really efficient vehicle. And I know like F1 has got all this like net zero stuff
Mhm.
coming up, and they are looking at different like ways to create fuel not from fossil fuels and like from just like food waste and stuff like that. So
Mhm.
I don't know if there's a way that we could integrate that plus the energy recovery system that they already have in place and create these vehicles that are basically just self-sustaining.
Yeah, that brings up a good question. Like, I have so many like thoughts, like now that you just said that, like, how many gallons of gas do you go through in a single race? Like, do you have that estimation?
Depends on how long the track is, and it depends on how long we're on full throttle. But I would say maybe like 70 liters is like a safe amount that we put in. I have
Wow.
to look that up. I
Yeah,
know
no,
once.
sorry. You just like brought up so many things for me. Like, I'm like, I've never thought about
I think
that.
it's
Like,
like about, I think probably a little less than 70 liters, because I know for sure at one time I had only 50, like 3 liters in my car, and I ran out of gas.
oh,
So,
gotcha.
so it's more than that.
You
So I'm
need
pretty
more
sure,
than 53.
yes.
Oh,
Yeah, it depends on the track though. So like, another fun behind the scenes thing. So when you go to a racetrack, it depends on the series on how they want to kind of quantify this. But like for example, when I worked in IndyCar, we always have like a fuel run. So like in practice, you basically want to be on the limit where you almost run out of gas, and you take that data from when you ran it like very very low, and you use that as like a baseline trace, so you know like how low you can run the fuel. Between stops, so that way you're like, okay, this is my lower limit, like I will run out of gas. So then when we with like the Porsche stuff, they calculate like within our practice sessions, they'll calculate, okay, this was our fuel burn during a practice session, so then they use that fuel burn number to then estimate, okay, we need about this much in the car for qualifying, which is going to be less because we're not doing as much time and we want the car to be low fuel. And then also for the race, they use like the qualifying and the practice numbers to get that fuel burn number of what it's going to be, and then they obviously just add that up for however many laps, and then that's what they put in the car.
see, yeah, so interesting. That's some great insight that it just hit me now. And yeah, I love your innovation idea. Sustainability, right? That's like the way of the future. And I like where your head is at. So thank you for your answer. So we've asked Sabra some fascinating questions about her career and her future plans, and now it's time to hear from you. So if
Yay!
you're with us live, get those questions in. In the meantime, we can answer some of the questions that were submitted ahead of time in our comments on our social media posts. And I'll start with MJ Ward Racing would like to know, what advice would you give to a 10-year-old you?
10-year-old me. Well, I feel like some of it I kind of covered with like the so what now what
For
mindset.
sure.
Um, but something I also really feel like I wish that I knew a lot earlier in my career. I'm still learning, right? We're all
Yeah.
still learning. Um, is to have the right people around you, build the right team around you, and invest in the right people uh, early on, because that is going to cut down the amount of time it takes you to accomplish anything. And for too long, I'm like, oh, I'll just like figure it out on my own, or it's like
Mhm.
feeling like I had to go through the struggles and the challenges on my own, and rather than leaning into someone else that's already been through a lot of things and could minimize it, like just I know it's always it's easier said than done, right? Because like from my perspective, I'm like, oh, I can't afford a coach, oh, I can't afford a manager, I can't afford this, so what do I do? And I realized going back, I just would have found some way to maybe like just manipulate the budget a little bit, so I could have put more towards having the right people around me a lot earlier on, and I think that would have really changed a lot of things for me.
Gotcha. That's great advice. Or they also had a follow-up question. They also wanted to know what you think the biggest breakthroughs or achievements for women in motorsports will be in the next decade.
In the next decade,
Yeah,
ooh,
decade.
decade. Well, I think eventually we're gonna get another girl that's gonna be a test driver for a Formula One team.
Mm,
I would like to, I would like to be optimistic and saying that we might get a female Formula One driver in the next 10 years. So we'll see what happens. But I think uh, I really feel like women have strengths in endurance racing specifically.
mm.
So maybe there might be a really big breakthrough where a woman wins overall in like the 24 hours of Le Mans or Daytona or something like that.
There's-
So we'll see. I don't know. Those are my wishful thinkings.
Yeah, you bring up a good point about the endurance racing and just overall women and endurance, I think. Yeah, interesting. Okay, here's another one that I'd love to hear your take on. Craig R. Hammett wants to know what's your favorite car you've ever driven?
Favorite car I've ever driven. I would say Well, the fastest car I've ever driven is maybe my favorite. I only got to drive for one session, and then a pull rod broke. But so it was an old Formula Atlantic. Being able to, I'd never driven like a tunnel car before then, so that was a very cool experience. But other than that, I would say the very first Porsche I ever got to drive was a 997, and I just like now that I've gotten to drive other things, I just realized like how much I enjoyed that because it's a lot more raw. Like you can drive it like a shifter cart. You can be a bit aggressive with it. So yeah, I would say those are my top two.
Nice. Um, Probably about what I was expecting from you. I thought maybe you might say like a minivan or something.
Yeah,
I'm just
I
kidding.
have done minivan time trials before
What?
though.
That should that would be a fun like game show or
It
something all in
was.
its
Yeah.
own.
They don't last very
Um,
long though. The brakes on those things, so you gotta one and done lap. You gotta give them time to
yeah.
recuperate.
Oh no. Okay. So another one of our sponsored athletes, Peyton Mary Jane, she is also, a racer, and she wanted to know if you ever get nervous before a race.
I used to get so nervous when I was younger. I feel like I couldn't eat very much throughout the day and I would just feel a bit nauseous. But thankfully that's changed because I like food. So I was glad that
Yeah.
my appetite came back as I got more used to it. But it's now, I mean, I feel like now I have like I guess a normal amount of like I don't want to say nervous. I have like a normal amount of excitement or like um, awareness where you start to I don't want to think of it as like nervous necessarily being negative, but you do
Yeah.
have that within you, right? That's like your body knows that you're about to do something that's going to be stressful and going to be dangerous. And so it does wake itself up a bit, which is a good thing because that
Right.
means our reflexes are sharp and fast. But yeah, I used to get a lot more nervous, but now I would say it's all beneficial.
Yes, and like you're able to like control it in a way that you can utilize it for its benefit,
Yeah,
right?
exactly. It's a performance tool now.
That, I mean, that's such great insight for, like young racers like Peyton, that aspire and look up to you. So thank you for answering that question. All right, let's get to some of our live questions. Um, what's the fastest speed you have ever reached while racing?
Well, racing, probably I think it's around 172 miles an
Oh,
hour. 172. It's
wow.
actually at the Miami GP. We have such a long last back straightaway that tends to be the highest speed of the year is the end of that.
What does that even feel like?
Well, I think it's all kind of relative, right? Like it would feel strange if all of a sudden you went from 0 to 171, but
Right.
you're coming on there like with a lot of momentum and you gradually are accelerating up to that speed. So you just I guess you get more used to it. You definitely feel it. The speed feels more when you're on a track that does have walls like Miami because there's obviously objects close to you that are going by a lot faster versus like a normal like purpose-built racetrack where it's a little bit more open. Then I feel like the speed doesn't feel as fast. But yeah, it's all
You're just used
relative.
to it.
It's all relative, but it does. I mean, it feels fast, but it's like you build up that tolerance, just like the nervousness, right? Like eventually you just build up that tolerance.
Gotcha. I don't think I would like going that fast, but sure. It's all relative. That's wow, 172. That's crazy. Okay, we got kind of an engineering question here. What engineers do you have on your team and what do they do?
Oh, that's a very good question.
Yeah.
So it totally depends on the team structure, what series you're in, and how many cars are on the team. But I'm gonna try and I'll give a two-part answer. So like if you're in a team like Formula One has so many. There's so many. There's a design side of things, there's the performance at the track, and then there's some form of race control that's also back at the factory. But so like for us though, it is we have our own like race engineer, performance engineer like that's allocated to us. Sometimes we only it's only our engineer, and sometimes we share engineers. So like this
Mm.
last year, I had an engineer who I split with. Dan Clark was my teammate. I did see he was on here earlier, so I'm calling him out. He's
Dan.
watching. Hi, Dan. Do you want to put some Snaptron buttons in your Sims? He makes a lot of simulators.
Ah.
Like for that situation, usually they try to pair personalities wise, like who would most
Mm.
benefit from that relationship. So Dan and I had an engineer named Chris who we shared. Dan says hi. Hi, Dan.
Speedy Dan Clark. Okay, gotcha. Hi,
So that
Dan.
that's normally how we don't we have we also have like data engineers, so they will take the data out of the car, log it, record everything, and give it to our performance race engineers. Outside of that, sometimes you might have a tire engineer, maybe,
Oh,
but usually right now and like in Carrera Cup, it's usually that you have your performance race engineers and then you have your data engineers.
gotcha. I mean, that's it's just such amazing insight, like, about the team that's surrounding you. And yeah, so interesting. And that like you cannot do it all on your own as a racer, and you have this amazing team behind you. Um, so many ways to get involved in racing, from STEM. Um, all right. Here's an interesting one. What are your thoughts on touch screens? Do you like using touch screens in vehicles? And does your race car utilize touch screens?
I would say
I can repeat
in
them
a
for you too.
in a so in like a normal street car, I don't mind a touchscreen if it's like the center console, like that's fine for me. In the race car, we do not have touchscreens. We just have buttons because I think I'm not aware of it if it exists, but I don't know if there's a touchscreen that is resistant enough, like Snaptron buttons are, to the high forces that you experience in a race car, to where you could utilize a touchscreen and wouldn't have any adverse effects. I'm not sure if that maybe there is something on the market that I'm not aware of, but I don't think I've ever seen a race car with a touchscreen yet.
Yeah, in those like precise scenarios where you need that, like it's just so important that tactile feedback that you press something.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
that's probably, I mean, if there are some, but that's probably why there aren't many, if there are,
Yeah.
utilizing touch screens.
I think there's just a
Um,
lot more there's a lot more like failure points that could be possible with a touchscreen, and plus it's also expensive, probably more than just a normal button. So that's also why we don't like it, because it makes racing more expensive than it already is.
which is already pretty pricey.
Yes.
Um, let's see here. What would you like to drive for the first time this year?
Oh, this year? Oh, I mean, we're just anything in the
I
world.
think
I would like,
anything,
oof.
yeah.
I mean, a dream would always be to drive a IndyCar or a Formula One car. That would be very cool. But I would also really like to drive a rally car. I think that would be something I really, really want to be able to experience.
Well, I hope you get the chance when you have some time, when you're not racing your Porsche. Um, what is your favorite track? Do you have one?
Yes, yeah. Well, I mean, I love most tracks, right? But I would say there's definitely ones that stand out and you enjoy more as a driver. My favorite is probably Spa. I know it sounds cliche from a driver because I feel like a lot of people say that, but there's a reason why, because it is really fun. But I also really enjoy Brands Hatch GP circuit. That's in the UK. Spa's in Belgium. And then if I have to pick one in the US, I would probably say I've never raced on Laguna Seca, but I have a feeling I would really enjoy that track. But I also really like Coda, that's in Austin.
Yeah, I got to see you race there.
It's a beautiful track, right? Like it's gorgeous the way that they have it painted, and it's really easy to view from like a lot of different points on the track. So it's a cool track.
Yeah, I mean, from yeah, it was awesome and beautiful and very like patriotic, the
Yes.
paint and everything on it. All right, there's one question that was submitted a little ahead of time. I have a feeling you might know her. Her name is Coach Millie. She wanted to know who your favorite trainer was, but I'm guessing she's already expecting a certain answer.
I know. I mean, I feel like I can't say Garrett because yeah.
So like that gives me a little like another question though. Like what is like your training routine like maybe in the off season versus like in season racing?
Yeah, so surprise, race car drivers train a lot in the gym. I know it maybe doesn't isn't always intuitive that we do, but we train so like normally I'm training 6 days a week. The I would say the cadence of it is mostly the same in the off season. We just do different loading, or different like tempo work, or maybe we'll have like a certain break on cognitive stuff, and we'll really just focus on strength when we have time on the off season to do the heavy strength building. But normally we do like 3 lifts a week, and those are usually full body because we are using our full body when we're driving, and so those will focus on just depending, like I said, depending on what cycle we're in. But yeah, 3 days a week we'll lift, and then we'll have 2 days where we do circuits. It's more like whether it's high intensity circuits or it's like extended like cardio where you're in a very specific heart rate zone and you have to stay in that zone the whole time. And then usually on like the weekend we have one depending, right? Like it all changes throughout the year, but depending, it's usually like our maybe more of like a lighter cardio day or an extended steady state cardio day. And then usually we have Sundays off, most unless we're racing, then we have Monday off or something like that. But that's usually the schedule. And then, like I said, on like most athletes on a off season, when you have the ability and the time that if you happen to injure yourself to recover from it, that's when you lift heavy and you try to build the strength, and then you just kind of go into a maintenance sort of period in season.
Well, it sounds like you're busy at all times. And if you're not racing, you're training. If you're not training, you're looking for engineering projects. So
And taking
you're a
care of my
busy,
cat
and yeah,
that
and
gets
then take
sick.
care. You're a cat mom also. I think we have given you a lot of questions. We can probably get you some more to answer in some way on our channels, but I think we've asked you plenty today.
No worries. I do like racing and engineering, so it's never tedious to talk about it.
Yeah, there are plenty more questions to ask you, but we'll get them to you outside of our live chat today so that us on our other social media accounts. We're on other things other than Instagram to stay updated on the latest news, behind the scene moments, and racing content with Sabre.
And learn new tech that they're using.
Yeah,
That's what I always do.
we do have some other stuff. We do a lot of steering wheels, racing steering wheels lately, but we do have other things on there too. So thank you so much, Sabra. Have a great rest of your day, and we'll see you soon.
Thanks so much for having me. Have a great
Yes,
day.
of course. Bye.
Bye.